current project. Then I will hand over to our inspiring keynote speakers, each of them with their own expertise, but still linked to the project. After the keynotes, we will provide space for a Q&A. We close this evening with the reason why we are here, our youngsters. I could fill a whole webinar about them, but who else but they themselves will show you the prototype they have developed during this project. After the youngsters, we will provide space for a Q&A. I would like to thank Erasmus Plus and especially Jent for the support, our partners Kio from Turkey, Odnos from Slovenia, Fabrica Idea from Bulgaria, and PeaceCraft Event from Belgium for the wonderful cooperation. And last but not least, of course, to all the participants of PeaceCraft. Thank you very much for your commitment and energy. Before we start, let me take a moment to make sure that the webinar runs smoothly. So this is a webinar. That means that you will not be on the screen during the webinar. However, you do get a chance to actively participate and ask questions to the speakers and the participants. At the bottom, you will see, at the bottom of your screen, you will see some icons. If you don't see them, you just move with your mouse over the Zoom screen. And then you can use these to actively participate. I've picked two out of them. So you see the chat icon and the Q&A icon. The chat icon, here you can start a conversation with other participants. You are not alone here. You cannot see it maybe, but there are also other interested parties that are following the webinar. So you can introduce yourself, share your insights and comments on the conversations. The question and the Q&A icon, if you have questions for the speakers and the participants, please leave your questions here in that room. We will try to include your questions in the discussion afterwards. The webinar is recorded, so participants and other interested parties will be able to watch the recording again afterwards. The live stream is also available on the Facebook page of iDrops and PeaceCraft Event. So then I give now the word to Thomas, who will tell us something more about the beginning of PeaceCraft.
Yes, welcome from my side too. Hello everyone. So I'm Thomas from PeaceCraft. I'm gonna take you, just to start the event, I'm gonna take you back in time. I'm gonna take you back in time to 2017. A time when we didn't even know Corona even existed. It seems a very, very long time ago. And so in 2017, we started actually the PeaceCraft project. It was actually our way to actually find a solution to design a product on what was going on in our society at that point. We were looking and we saw like that there's a lot of misunderstandings, there's a lot of wrong perceptions, there's a lot of debate, conflict, tensions, polarization. There's a lot of words to describe it, but but we wanted to create a tool how to create a better dialogue. And that's how we came up with two projects, with two products actually. We made a game, we made a theater play. And so the game was actually a game you could play on your smartphone. It actually still exists. It's now translated even in English, so you can check that out. And it's a game in which we use the stories of people who have fled their countries and who came in 2016 to Belgium. And through this game, you can actually, you have the phone of them in your hands and you get messages and you actually get to experience it through their eyes. And then we also made a theater play. And in this theater play, we tell the stories actually of what happens actually when youngsters arrive in Belgium. What happens when they try to integrate in Belgium? What are the conflicts that can arise? And through actually a forum theater play, a play in which we ask the audience to interact, we started a dialogue on this issue. That's what we did in 2017, 2019. it's something that we were present with all across Flanders. We worked into schools. We did it together with eye drops. And yeah, here you can see the numbers. I'm not going to dig much deeper into it because actually, this is actually the context that leads us to today. Because this was our answer to the question, what can we do with the issue that we see today in our society? But from 2019 on, from 2020 onwards, actually, we asked this question as well to youngsters, to the amazing people that will present the project later on. We asked them, like, what do you think is a solution? What can you design as a product? And so we empowered them to do this. And furthermore, we shared this experience of PeaceCraft with European partners, and we also learned from them. But I will let Nathan explain you more about that, and he will dive into PeaceCraft 2.0. Back to present time.
Thank you, Thomas. So we wanted to bring the successful story of PeaceCraft to a European level. From the partners' perspective, we saw that the context of PeaceCraft is topical and that the European challenge is huge. Refugees and migration is a polarized topic. Instead of focusing on the divisions around this topic, constructive dialogue is essential. Today, refugees are a part of society. To overcome the growing tension in society and to seize opportunities, youngsters have to work together to design the solutions of tomorrow. PeaceCraft started to see the light and brings together youngsters from Bulgaria, Slovenia, Turkey, and Belgium with different backgrounds. Half of the youngsters with and half of them without a refugee background. In each country, the young people take up the challenge of finding answers to the polarization. They do this by working through co-creation and by the methodology of human-centered design and polarized theater. With the methodology of polarized theater, they map together the issues lying behind the polarization, while through the methodology of human-centered design, they propose and they design solution with as a central point the human's needs and desires where you are designing for. Through the prototypes, the youngsters give actually insights into how they can transcend polarization. In this way, the youngsters are the drivers and the designers of positive change in their own country. PeaceCraft Europe departs actually from two challenges. In the first challenge, how can youngsters tackle issues due to the tensions between refugees and non-refugees existing in their respective countries? That is taken up by the young people, the youngsters, through a co-creation process, as I just mentioned before. In the second challenge, how can we give youth workers tools to engage in dialogue on polarizing topics? We brought together youth workers from each participating country and developed a toolkit based on the following question. How can human-centered design support youth workers in connecting youngsters from diverse backgrounds with a focus on newcomers and refugees? Pax Christi Vlaanderen also made a toolkit around the methodology of polarized theater. At the final event in July of PeaceCraft Europe, we will present this toolkit. For those who are interested, we are in the feedback phase and we would love to hear about your experience in using the toolkit. You can always contact me for this one. The journey of PeaceCraft Europe. We started the adventure in the beginning of March in 2000, so last year in 2020. So we had just finished here a kickoff meeting in Istanbul with all the partners, and yeah, actually here the planning for the PeaceCraft year was done. And then, indeed, came indeed. I hear you all thinking out loud. Then came Corona. Certainties became uncertainties. Physical became digital. Commitment became doubt. but thanks to the flexibility of Erasmus and also the partnership, but most of all the engagement and the energy of the participants, we kept on going. But let's be honest, some moments were really challenging. Young people, our youngsters, who dropped out because of all sorts of corona-related difficulties, but also the youngsters who found their way to the PeaceCraft project. How did they do it? So I will let them present that later. I would like to take you through the process that we went through. What if you bring youngsters together and start designing with them through co-creation? Well, then you do not only get an energetic group, like you see here, but you also investigate the deeper matter of the theme you are working on. Through theater techniques and methods, you bring polarization to life and tackle it. Through co-creation, you dig deeper to go from the problems to challenges, and then you look for solutions. Teamwork, dreamwork, like we say. After the keynote speakers, the participants will tell you something more about their process and about their prototypes. And then I give now the floor to Fabio. If you want to contact me, please, you will see here, if you have questions, information you need, you can always contact me. Here is my email address, nathan@idrops.be.
Yeah, voila. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, so now it's time for the real work. We invited 3 speakers tonight, and after the 3 speakers, we make some time for the youngsters. But in the context of our challenge and our human-centered design approach, we invited 3 keynote speakers. So first to them. After the talks, we planned some time for answering the questions. So feel free to type your questions in the Q&A section below. We will make some time to answer them. But first, the speakers. The first one in line will be talking about media and polarization. He's a journalist at the VRT, a documentary and filmmaker, and he's an author of the book Reborn, Herboren. Hier komt de nieuwe Belg. So turn up your volume because here is Majd Khalifeh. Majd, the floor is yours.
Fabio, I think he disappeared. I don't see him in the list anymore.
Yeah, okay.
He will probably come back, but maybe I suggest we go. That we change a bit.
Majd is back.
He's back? Okay, perfect. So he was.
Okay, Majd, if you can hear us, it's your time to shine. So you can start sharing your. I matched. Maybe you're in the wrong you joined via the wrong link. Is it possible?
I made him panelist. It's fine. Now he can join us.
Now it's better. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes,
hear you.
You're there.
Okay. Hi. So good evening, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today. It's kind of crazy words right now we're living in. Normally I'm standing, I'm energetic on a stage, I'm talking to people. I could see their face reactions, I could see their mimic, but it's okay that we're doing it now through the internet, through a screen that I could look in and just share with you some thoughts tonight. But first of all, I just want to say I'm really happy to join this group tonight. So well done to everyone, and I hope you guys achieve your projects and goals very soon in the best way. So hi, my name is Majd Khalifeh. I'm a journalist at the Belgian public broadcaster here in Belgium. At the Flemish part in Belgium. It's called the VRT, our broadcaster. But this is who I am now as a journalist for the Belgian public. But 16 years ago, I came to Belgium as a refugee. I spent most of my childhood in Syria. And in fact, I was actually born as a refugee. Also, my parents were born as refugees. as refugees. Our refugee story began actually more than 70 years ago when my grandparents gathered some of their belongings and flew the Arab-Israeli war in Palestine in 1948. I'm very happy here. I'm very happy today to be here and to hear about your projects and ideas. It's not always easy to speak on migration and refugees in Europe, let alone presenting a solution or a product that could inspire people to go and governments regarding this topic. I know it because I struggled enough lately before publishing my recent book, Herboren, which includes my personal testimony from my early days in Belgium. And it was a struggle because at some point you realize you're not dealing with an isolated challenge or a topic, which you could just like store it in a closet after finish dealing with it. It follows you, it stays stuck with you. We are hearing under my title, Media and Polarization. It is how you are dealing with a topic and how we are talking about the topic, that every time we open our mouth and we speak about migration and refugees, we are speaking about actually human beings. We're speaking about ourselves. We're speaking about everyone. And I hear some of you are involved with, for example, graphic art, cartoons in their projects. Some are hoping to use music maybe, and others are even thinking about board games. And as an ex-refugee, but also as a journalist who have been working for years on this topic, and especially the integration of refugees, I can see the value of those ideas. When I moved to Belgium in 2004, and specifically here in the Flemish region, not only I didn't speak the official language, which is Dutch, I even didn't know that Dutch was actually an official language in Belgium. I needed a whole week to discover the fact that Belgians actually speak Dutch as an official language. I did not have money, I did not have a degree, and I had to start from zero. I understand that respecting our humanity is beyond any language, race, and color. But the journey, and I have to be honest with myself, the journey to happiness, or to a feeling of happiness, a feeling of home, or at least a feeling of comfort in a new place, starts with, in my opinion, with language. Not because you need exact and correct phrases to tell somebody that you feel cold, you're hungry, or to ask for an address. It is because a refugee is mostly overloaded with human emotions. That he or she is a big need and a huge need to share it with others. And that is when language comes to serve as a bridge with those emotions would use to pass. So when you were talking about polarization, in my case, the tense of my communication, the tense of my being part of this community in my early days have declined the more I required from the language, and the more I learned from the host culture here in Belgium. Most of the migrants and refugees join language and the integration courses during the first period of their new life. But speaking from a Belgian context, it is still a massive challenge for many of them to get in touch with their local communities, to get in touch with the local media, to follow the news here in Belgium, to collect more information about what is actually, which kind of stories are living now within the new community. Part of that challenge is linked to the cultural differences, of course, and the high individualism here in the Western countries in comparing with collective cultures like in Syria, Afghanistan, or other refugee countries. But another part involves the continued lack of inspiring initiatives that could provide the migrant with communication keys he or she needs to open the doors to the new societies. Me, myself, before the Corona pandemic, I used to invite groups of refugees and migrants in Belgium. We describe them in Dutch as newcomers, the newcomers, and guide them in a short tour around inside the building of the public broadcaster, talk with them about the media, about freedom of speech, about the way how the media works here in Europe and how it differs from the system, the media system in their origin countries. Have a discussion with them, have an open conversation with them about the whole topic regarding, of course, migration and refugees, but also about the conflict and how they are actually being reported here to the Belgian public. Now, this means in any case that a refugee or a migrant is not yet served by just joining a language class. In a perfect situation, migrants must, in my opinion, join the community in the same speed they join their language introduction course. In my case, I had the unique chance to grab my first and very important communication key to the Belgian and Flemish community through joining a local youth movement in the same village where my refugee center used to be situated. Not only I started learning more about the Flemish culture and habits, the experience through meetings, games and camps and music with the group opened my eyes to very essential keys on how to communicate my feelings and emotions so that a strong human connection is manifested. I actually found a video of myself back then when I used to live in the asylum center, and we had an incident inside the center. It wasn't a robbery, but people came inside, they broke in and they hit some people. It was a hate crime. And I found a video of myself talking with others, with my inmates in the center, to the media who came to visit us and talk about the story, journalists who came to cover the story. And I saw how we were communicating with the media. It was really fractured sentences, which you could use just to describe very, very little of the big details that we had to live through that night. So make no mistake, the human connection is there and everywhere. This connection will only evolve into a feeling of happiness, home, or at least comfort when that connection is visible and you have the right language and communication skills to reinforce it. Another important part in creating a new successful reality when talking about migration is what we would call stating the obvious. Teaching about equality and talking about equality, human rights, democracy, and freedoms is still needed for us, the community as a whole. It is a kind of knowledge needed for migrants, refugees, but also for their host communities as well. You don't have to be an investigative journalist to find the latest reports on human rights abuses in refugee countries, from war crimes to discrimination against women to persecution of people based on their beliefs and ideas. But there is still a huge lack of knowledge regarding the values of democracy and freedom here in Europe within the refugee community. And this lack has been also visible within the host communities, within the Europeans themselves. And bringing attention to those topics are also very much needed to the host communities. During the past years, we've seen the rise of extremist ideologies and groups who don't feel the commitment to respect human rights in order to reach specific political goals. We've seen it in the media. We've seen the effect of this rise of this kind of ideologies. But they have succeeded in somehow in attracting a wide public and a wide support, mainly by spreading false information through the internet and social media. And this is a topic which I am working with on a daily basis. Me myself, I work every day with open source investigation based on social media and verifying information through social media, looking into images and photos and pictures which have been spread by different groups, different types of groups, pro-refugees and anti-refugees, pro-migration and anti-migration. It's a whole war on the internet at this time. If you don't maybe see it on the streets, it is there and it's hanging there in every social media platform. So maybe to sum up and to finish with a small idea with this short keynote, whatever your idea, your projects or initiative became to be, please spread it, talk about it, tweet about it, Facebook about it, and even TikTok about it. That's more or less my message tonight. Beginning with the first steps in this community, needs the skill of communicating human emotions, which you could use language to do this. And from the other parts of the story, the host communities, you need to invest more and more in spreading again the basic laws of democracy and freedoms, which are being used here in Europe since many years. In any way, what you're doing today, it might sound like a project or an initiative, a small initiative, but it could be a big change if you understand those small details, which I describe just not only as a journalist, but also as an ex-refugee, which I was happy to share with you tonight. Thank you. That was my time for tonight. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Majd, for the wise words. Thank you. Okay, still a warm announcement or a warm reminder for putting your questions in the Q&A section below. We will not answer them right now because we go to the second speaker, but after the 3 speakers, we will make some time to answer them. Okay, so we heard some insights from the media right now, from Majd. But now we will jump into the innovation. For this topic, we invited Artemis Kubala. She will give us a keynote about how you should be always in the center of innovation. And for this topic, we will listen to her. But first, I will want to tell a little bit more about her, a little bit her bio. She's a project manager at Blunders, a president at Malumbimpa. And she's also involved behind the scenes of het Minderheden Forum and Whisper. So the floor is yours, Artemis Kubala.
Dear daughters and mothers, dear all, it's with great pleasure and very humbly that I contribute my 2 pence on human-centered design to this wonderful project. My name is Artemis Kubala and I recently turned 30, which means that I am old enough to know how the offline world works and young enough to also keep up with everything new and digital. And if you bear with me till the end of my talk, you might actually hear me disapprove of what I just said right now. People ask me about my motivation, about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And my answer to that is indignation. Indignation was the reason why I studied law. Indignation is what I felt after getting my law degree. Indignation and powerlessness is what I felt when working and traveling in Palestine, when talking to friends who fled their homes in Syria, Afghanistan, Cameroon. Indignation is what I feel when I see people fall prey to polarization. And outrage is what I feel when one vulnerable group is incited against another vulnerable group, while the government is quietly avoiding all responsibility. Indignation is my motivation to try to make a change for the better, as tiny as it might be. But meeting youngsters who set goals for themselves and watching them build their own path in this life gives me hope. Seeing mothers who have looked the atrocity of war right in the eye, who are still vibing love and kindness towards everybody in their surroundings, gives me hope. Projects like this, in which young people take on societal challenges and co-create solutions, gives us all perseverance in trying to change this world for the better. I have the privilege to work on some interesting projects, and in these projects, innovation is often a pivotal criterion. As in here you have some money to work on a solution for X and Y, but make sure that what you do is innovative. What is innovation? Generally speaking, it means that something is new or that it pushes boundaries. But for innovation to make sense, to have a purpose, it is imperative to always link it with human-centered design. Human-centered design, service design, design thinking, systems thinking, experience design, although each might have its nuances, these can more or less be used interchangeably when referring to the process of designing products and services around the actual needs of the end user. Let me repeat that, the process of designing products and services around the actual needs of the end user. So nothing new under the sun, and this approach is much older than the buzzwords itself. I would argue that human-centered design is an approach that is absolutely necessary when trying to develop any service with which you would try to change the status quo. You can find many handbooks and toolkits online when it comes to methods within service design. For example, this development, impact, and you. I will share you some rules of thumb that work for me when co-creating innovative solutions with and for a target group. These principles help me to keep the right attitude and to stick to innovation on the condition that you, whenever you are the target group, should always be at the center of it. The power of not knowing anything. Try to forget what you know or what you think you know. Before opening any book, reading any study, or consulting any statistics, talk with the persons who are part of your target group. Only after that, and on the base of that, go dig in literature and research. Not knowing anything is very hard, because it's only human to have some preconceived notions, some opinions about basically everything. And you should actively fight this need. There are some tricks that help, for example, the Matsuda analysis, or taking into account intersectionality. How I describe it for myself is that I strive to become an expert of not knowing anything. My aim is to transform myself into a black hole where knowledge and people are automatically drawn towards. Nothing about us without us. People are the end users of innovation. People therefore should be part of the co-creation of it. You need people in order to develop something that makes sense, and don't take their input and time for granted. The time and energy that others spend in your ideas of innovation should be rewarded, and in a more direct way than, well, they will benefit in the end when the service is designed. And money is not the only way to reward engagement. I'm sure you can think of something. What works for me often is making sure that I share my methods and way of working and make sure that I spend enough time explaining and almost training participants in these methods. So after sharing their input in, for example, a workshop that I organize, they in turn go home with trained skills and new methods that can be of use for their own work or life or projects. Other ways of rewarding engagement is by sharing your network, making sure to be accessible later on for any questions, or to return the favor whenever they need input from you. Or, even more simply, just ask what you can do in return. Sharing is caring. Share your journey, not as a way to boast or to brag, but the obstacles that you stumble upon or the questions you ask, the weird conclusions you make, can be the piece of the puzzle that others are looking for. When we were working on Project Madame, in which we explored obstacles to employment experienced by higher educated women with a migration background, we came up with multiple business canvas models. We ended up choosing only one, but it would be dumb not to share the other models with the rest, because who knows what other people can make of it. Think of your journey as if it was a Creative Commons good. Trying is winning. Determine what you are trying to do and learn from what is not working. The things that do not work or do not lead you to the results that you are searching for actually will teach you the most. Keep in mind that you are not letting anyone down, not even yourself, when something does not work. Each and every one of us is just trying, searching for solutions, for ways to live and to make life better. When you try, you already won from those that are not trying at all. And make sure you document your steps and even thoughts as much as possible. This way you create learning patterns. Feeding back the ship. I have been told that the origin of the word feedback comes from the port industry. When big ships are maneuvering their way into ports, they cannot do this alone. They depend on the smaller vessels that feed them back or keep them on the right track. I have no idea whether this origin is authentic, but it sure rings true to me. We need other people to keep us on the right track and also to determine who we are as opposed to others, but that's like a whole different story. Feedback is nothing more than you asking the vessels around you to feed you back onto the right track. It is good to train yourself in receiving feedback and to train yourself also in giving meaningful feedback to others. Paper tablecloths are heroes. Don't let yourself be buried in shiny appliances and complex software or programs. Use whatever you have to be creative, and paper tablecloths are an example. The scarcer the means, the more active our minds, hearts, and hands. The more luxurious our surroundings, the more complex the software, and the shinier the specially designed, self-sticking, reusable, costly, never destructible wall sticky papers, the lazier our minds, hearts, and hands. When my grandfather in 1956 saw all the wounded in the streets in Budapest during the civil uprising, he did not hesitate and did not wait for an actual ambulance to be available to bring the wounded to the hospital. He took the first car that he saw, drew a red cross on a white sheet and attached it to the car and transported those who were hurt, Hungarians as well as oppressors, to the nearest hospital. We should all find our nearest car and cloth of sheet to impact our surroundings for the better. To make a change, to take the next steps in our innovative process. Or, more attainable, paper tablecloths work wonders. Use it to lay it on the table, provide yourself and participants with markers, and get on drawing, sketching, mapping, planning, being creative. And who says that you should only use it to put it on the table? You can also lay it down on the floor or stick it on the wall. But know this, it's low cost, you can have much of it, it's multi-purpose, and it simply does the job. And who says you should only use it to draw upon? But on that note, dare to draw. You do not need to be good at drawing, just be consistent. If you draw triangles for people, then keep drawing triangles and don't change them into circles halfway. Working visually adds pleasure and activates our creative brain. Dare to have fun. Trying to work out something fresh, some new ways that will open new doors, pushing boundaries is fun. Granted, the topics might be of a tragical nature, like fleeing war, living under occupation, not being able to fully participate in society because of a handicap or being discriminated against. Those are not fun at all. But working hard on making a change, on making a better future for all and with all, is actually a good and a nice and a fun thing to do. On pivotal moments in the process, when you need to decide how to proceed, take into account what gives you the most energy, what speaks to your heart, because you will be working with people, nothing about us without us, remember? And your interventions need to come from a good place within yourself. If you have no fun, if there is no joy, you will not be able to create joyful moments together with your stakeholders. And you need that good energy to be shared, to grow, to let innovation grow and outgrow yourself. Mind your words, not in a way that you should shut up or be afraid to speak, not at all, but be mindful of the fact that language does shape reality. With the words you use, you give shape to your own reality and therefore to the reality of the project. Since you are working on an innovative project that evolves around real people and their real needs and real lives, you should be extra careful not to force your way of viewing the world on them or on the output that you reach by their input. What works for me is creating a glossary. What a lovely word indeed. A list of concepts and what these concepts mean. The list is a work in progress and meanings can shift, but make sure that you know why you call some people citizens and other people mere persons or people. Make sure you consistently use the same meaning for migration background and higher educated and so on. make your choice of words an active choice. As unsexy a glossary or a list of words might sound, words and terminology do carry within themselves a great activist and empowering potential. Words, when used wisely, can in fact help you to breach the status quo, to stir dialogue, to put question marks where others might have put exclamation marks. This is as far as my rule of thumb are going for now. These things help me to stay in the zone and make sure that what I do actually evolves around those for whom and with whom innovation is intended. Thank you for bearing with me this long. My name is Artemis Kubala, and I am of the opinion that age has absolutely nothing to do with skills and abilities. I strongly believe that solutions to societal challenges lay within the other person that you and I encounter. On an online event like this, or through email while having a coffee at work, if ever we will be able to go to work again, in the quiet classmate to whom you did not talk before, and mostly in the person that has a totally different point of view than your own. Please do not hesitate to ask any questions and feel free to contact me later for a chat, feedback, or critique. Thank you.
Thank you, Artemis. The last tip, the last tip you gave is very important in this thing. It was language shapes reality, and also the youngsters, the third group, communication without language. We'll talk more about that. But first, the third speaker of tonight, that's Katrien Vissers, the coordinator of Tumult, and she has a background in international politics and teaching OCAN classes. So offline, I would ask you to make some noise, but now we will keep it a little bit more silent for you, Katrien Vissers. The place is yours.
Let me first start by putting on my mic. I would like to start with telling you that I'm honored and grateful for giving the opportunity to present our organization here today. I've already heard lots of things that I think we're trying to work on with our organization. So as Fabio mentioned, I'm the leading coordinator of Tumult. Tumult is a Flemish recognized youth organization. We're originated as a peace organization, but throughout the years have developed to, not that these organizations can't be youth-centered, but our focus mainly orientated to youth. So today we're active as a youth work organization. It means that we work with young children and young people in their spare time. The children and youngsters we work with are approximately between 6 and 30 years old. And we pay special attention to groups that feel excluded in one way or the other. The starting point where we part from as an organization is that living together does not always happen automatically. Young people and people overall face many challenges, some good, some bad. But however, we believe that everybody has the talent for living together. And when we say everybody, we especially and also mean children and young people with that grow up in a vulnerable situation, such as refugees or children in poverty. But we believe that you can increase that talent for living together by focusing on 3 basic ingredients. We believe that if we stimulate the encounter of groups with different backgrounds, make youngsters connect across the boundaries of differences, they will all experience mutual benefits. A second ingredient we try to work on is dealing with conflict, because whoever says living together also has to mention dealing with conflict. And Tumult also wants to make a difference on that field by dealing and training the capacity to deal with conflict and difference in a non-violent way. The last action domain we're active in is stimulating and promoting engagement of youngsters in the broader society. Because in order to give young people every opportunity to live together, it's also important that these young people are an active part of society. So therefore, we try to stimulate and promote their engagement in society. By stimulating that talent for living together, we want to make sure that children and youngsters no longer feel excluded from any kind of feel excluded overall. But that was the theory. I would like to take you through those 3 ingredients and tell you something about how we put each of these aspects into practice. Because there's always one, often more, of these ingredients in every activity we do as organization. As I already mentioned, we target children and youngsters between 6 and 3 years old, and we pay special attention to groups that are or feel more excluded than others. We reach a mix of young people from very different backgrounds, and Tumult wants to offer inclusive meeting places because we believe Encounter can be a really good method for tackling exclusion. First, let me tell you something about our summer camps. Every year we organize summer camps for children and youngsters between 6 and 15 years old. We focus again on children who find themselves in a difficult circumstances, for example, poverty or staying in youth care. And in this way, we mainly bring together children and youngsters from all kinds of growing up spaces. And although we focus specifically on children and young people in difficult circumstances, they are still quite a diverse group. So maybe, yeah, we use the language, it's an exclusive camp, so it's only meant for people, for children who grow up in difficult circumstances, but it's quite an inclusive group because it's a really diverse group. So that's something about inclusion and exclusion in youth work. I think that often there's certain views through all should be inclusive and exclusive should be avoided. But I think that inclusion and exclusion should be valued equal, and that both kind of activities have their value. We think it's especially important that children and young people have the choice to choose where do they feel comfortable, what do they need right now, because every child or young person must be able to find their own place in the free time. Besides summer camp, we also organize animator courses. So the camps are organized by volunteers, or animatoren, as we call them in Dutch. And about half our animatoren were not born in Belgium and have a refugee background. Another large part of the animators belongs to the white middle-class youth grown up in Belgium. So a great group of volunteers with a diverse background, and we organize an animator course for them. And this is the second example of our activities that I would like to present to you. These courses are recognized by the Flemish government, for which you also receive a certain certificate, but it also means that they must contain some specific content, some specific youth work related content. So that's why we've invented or created our own special course, a start animator course, we call it. And this course is especially for young people who have not been in Belgium very long. They usually are here less than a year, and youth work, Flemish youth work, is something completely new to them, especially the way like it's developed in Flanders. Often they are still learning Dutch, so they feel quite uncertain to participate in youth work as we know it in Flanders as well, So to meet those needs, we started with the Start Animator course. And during the summer holidays, these young people are also animator, take a leading role on our summer camps. I would like to show you a short video to give you an impression of this course.
Ik ben Omar Khan.
Ik ben Janice.
Ik ben Margot.
Ik ben Wassio.
Ik ben Pieter. Ja, de cursus Startanimator hebben we in het leven geroepen omdat de stap naar animator voor nieuwkomers eigenlijk te groot is.
Dat is de eerste keer van mij als ik kom naar de kamp.
Ik ben hier om nieuwe vrienden te maken, mensen te leren kennen van andere landen.
Ik kom hier voor kampen, voor nieuwe jongen te kennen, te maken.
Startanimator is een beetje een speciaal concept. Dat is eigenlijk een animatorcursus gericht naar nieuwkomers. En dat is een beetje een opstapje naar animator. Dat is heel veel spelen, weinig taal, een beetje erin komen op een speelse manier. Zelf de spelletjes ervaren in het jeugdwerk.
Hier leuk is, leuke begeleiders. Samenwerken, samen praten, samen spelletjes doen.
Spelletjes, activiteit
Voor mij is het echt leuk, omdat ik hou van kinderen. Ik hou van mensen, met mensen praten, met mensen communiceren.
Iedereen in de familie.
Ja, ik vind dat heel leuk. Hè.
Deze zomer ga ik op kamp met kinderen.
Excuse me, just let me just do this. Okay, so again, the Start Animator course is especially targets newcomers in Flanders, but we find it important to organize the Animator course at the same place and location as our other trainings, and we try to organize it in a way that they have lots of moments together, like breaks or little families, like home groups in the evenings. So there are really a lot of chances of getting to know each other, of encountering the other with a different background. A second aspect in which we want to stimulate talent for living together is by stimulating and training the capacity to deal with conflict in a non-violent way. I will go more quickly about this topic because yeah, time is limited. But starting from our own experience at our summer camps and courses, we find it important to use our experience and expertise to support other youth work organizations. We use two different approaches there. One focuses explicitly on stimulating diversity and inclusion, and the other one focuses on empowering and strengthening skills to deal with conflict in a non-violent way. For example, strengthening youth leaders in tackling bullying, but also how to tackle hate speech, how to give a non-violent reaction to hate speech or racism. And then finally, as mentioned when I started, we also attached great importance to the fact that these young potentials can also participate in society. And to do so, we started also again on some projects. Two of them are Navigate Youth and Wegwijzers, where we actively try to bridge the gap between children with fewer opportunities, with a special focus on young refugee, migrants, and asylum seekers, and leisure time possibilities, because we believe that being involved in leisure time activities can facilitate a breakthrough or a real integration into society. But we often notice that young refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers are not familiar with the opportunities that there are in Flanders. So we form up duos of volunteers. Two volunteers team up. One volunteer who can relate to the refugee background or the newcomer background, and the other volunteer raised in Flanders who can easily relate with the leisure time provider. outsiders. In this way, the volunteers learn from each other and put their knowledge together to actively help bridging the gap between children with fewer opportunities and leisure time possibilities. We support the children and youngsters as well as the providers to overcome the barriers that exist to participating in organizations. And last but not least, I would like to mention Project Ananas. Pineapple, if you would translate it into English, but Ananas is the name the youngsters of the project came up with for themselves. And it consists of two Arabic words. My Arabic is not that great, but Ana meaning I am and Nas meaning human, so I'm human. It's a project for and by young refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers, where we try to make the switch from young people as subject of the discussion to young people as part of the discussion. Young people are really at the driver's seat here, and it's really a project about empowering and positively change the imaging and framing of young refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers. To round up, I would like to quote one of our volunteers. Over the past years, we've wrote a new strategic plan for our organization. And when we asked our volunteers why for them tumult and youth work were important, her answer was, it's not because people had to flee to Belgium that they're different. We're all human, like eggs. You have a white egg and a brown egg, but if you open it, they are both egg. Therefore, we're all equal, and youth work has the power to show it. If it can be done in youth work, it can also be done elsewhere. I think this sums up pretty well what we as an organization want to stand for. The encounter of young people, whatever their background is, the search for what's in common, a place where they can have fun together. We want to prevent children and youngsters from feeling excluded, and therefore want to offer them a place where they really can be themselves and have fun and feel confident. So thank you for your time and giving me the opportunity to present our organization here, and feel free to ask if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Katrien Vissers, to give more explanation about tumult, inclusive youth work. Okay, I will still give you a few minutes to type some questions in the Q&A section, but while you're doing that, we will already take a look because there are already some questions posed. There was one for Majd, and it was about tools. Yeah, are there some tools to educate newcomers about democratic values, human rights, and freedoms, and maybe also about the organization of these democratic countries? Ivo had already answered that on YouTube there are a lot of videos that can help explaining that, but Majd, maybe you can.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Ivo, for the tips, but I just wanted to reinstate that in any way, in whatever the tool is not only needed to educate newcomers or migrants, refugees, as I said in my keynote, but also it is very much needed nowadays for the host communities. In fact, today Belgium is in a big shock after the murder of a homosexual man in a park the past days, where you see at this time huge reactions from social media, and of course sympathizing with the victim, but also showing, trying to show so much empathy and solidarity with the LGBTQ community here in Belgium, but everywhere, of course. Tools, I think, in my case as a journalist, what I do is what I love to do, at least before Corona, is to take people inside the building, let them see with their eyes what does it mean to work, to produce news in Belgium or in the heart of Europe, and to have a discussion and conversation with them on the way the system of the media works here, and the structure and the importance of their actually voice here in this community. Because it's still, I mean, the media in Europe still lack a lot of journalists who speak the mother tongue of those refugees. We don't have a lot of journalists who speak actually the Arabic language or the Afghani languages or the Pakistani languages or any other refugee country's language. Very few journalists they know they have studied the language or speak the language, but the huge amount of the refugees they cannot reach their voice to the media in a simple way. But there is this. Having said that, it doesn't mean that they don't have, I mean, an equal amount of enjoyable democracy in this country. They have a voice, and it could be heard as long as they are in Europe here, just like anyone else. They need to be educated for human rights, not in the first case, not only to make their communities or their neighbors in a better place, but to make themselves in a better place. So when I'm talking about the equality between man and woman, it has to be integrated in some initiatives that knocks on door and talks to families and talks to parents about the importance of empowering girls, for example, within a family, and trying to help her reach her dreams here in this world, in this new world, trying to maybe promote some platforms that are easy to reach within the media here and to reach a huge public. Educate them how to maybe search for information instead of depending in the main case on social media, because the problem of depending on social media, it's very much existing within the refugee and migrant community. When I'm investigating a story around migration or refugees, I know that to find them because they will be in a Facebook group, or they will be in a closed maybe Twitter conversation, or they will be maybe in Clubhouse nowadays discussing on something. Trying to pull them out of this bubble, of this circle, which is actually the sickness of everyone nowadays, and tell them that it is important to reintegrate their voices as well for the big public, to be much more engaged, to trust the media maybe, or to rebuild the trust with the media, because they need it as much as the media need their voices to tell them. An exact source, in my case, I really promote every initiative that talks to people, organize conversation, talks, and debates. Me, myself, I organized these tours inside the public broadcaster before Corona, within small groups every time, showing them the works of some news programs and tell them more about the work of the media. More of that, I cannot really suggest. You could try to reach them maybe through social media, as Ivo said, trying to tip some YouTube videos, but it needs a face-to-face conversation sometimes to discuss some topics regarding that matter.
Okay, thank you much. Okay, there is another one for you, but it's a long one, so I'm going to make it very short, and then we can go to the last one. It's about the gap between the youngsters and the media.
Yes.
That the VRT, for example, is focusing mainly on middle-aged or older people.
Yes, thank you, Guy. I've read your question. I'm really happy to tell you more and extended about this issue, maybe in Dutch later. But for this beautiful room with people from different countries, which I don't know the situation of the media and the relation between the media and the young people in their own countries. But in Flanders, I mean, the world where I'm working right now, I don't really agree that the mainstream media is not devoting actually any time or a few time to youngsters. It's still, I mean, you could pay us a visit and see which kind of projects we are working on to reach young people in different phases, because we do not actually divide audiences between young and old. Even within the young generation, we pay attention to the differences in ages. So we have special programs, special platforms where we try to maybe reach people and children from, let's say, 6 to 12 years old. But we have other platforms we're trying to reach maybe young adults and also teenagers later on. We have different initiatives. We are still learning and trying. For example, just last week, we launched a new project on TikTok to reach more young people. Before that, we have built up a really good and huge platform on Instagram, news with tens of thousands of followers and engagements every day. We're trying. I think the best part of these projects are actually are run by young people, which is a huge difference, of course. You are saying I am a white male, middle-aged man or something. I mean, those projects are really run by young people and very energetic, creative people who are trying every day to their best to reach young people. Let alone that we have also in our main programs, like in the news show and so on, we still evolve, we're still trying to every day to think and pay attention to the young people and bringing on their voice, because we think that it is as much as important as everyone's voice. The thing is, we work for everyone. We work for, I mean, somebody who's plus 70, but we work also for 16 years old who is going to school. We're working for 18 years old people who don't have a school education. We work for everyone. And if we were talking about Corona, we bring on the issue of, for example, companies and cafes who are going bankrupt, but we're paying attention, trying to pay attention to the emotions and the suffer of young people who are not seeing their friends and their mates anymore these days. So we're trying. I'm happy to keep on the conversation later, but this is like in short, a short answer to it.
Okay, thank you much for the short answer indeed, because I think you can talk hours about this. Okay, thank you. Then we have the last question for Katrien. It's from Katarina, and she asked to give very short an example of a non-violent way to solve a conflict or to approach a conflict.
As I understand, does she want to know an example of a non-violent way to deal with conflict, or how we train that within youngsters?
I think the training.
Okay, because we organize a lot of workshops and trainings for young people, and they're always made out of non-formal, informal learning methods, really active methods, games, and they often contain things like role-playing games, group discussions, but also, for example, in our summer camps, really living together and let them experience themselves the necessity to find a constructive way to deal with a little fight they did, and coach them, ask reflective questions, give them feedback. So it's not it's a quite broad range of ways we do that. But mainly in our workshop, we do that. For example, we've developed a 5-step pathway to develop a reaction on hate speech. And then we go through each step individually. We take a case, we try to adapt the reaction to the case. So therefore really training skills by really actively doing so in a non-formal or informal learning.
Okay, thank you, Katrien Vissers. If Katarina has more questions or more thoughts about that, she can always reach you, I think, by email or things like that. Okay, if you still have other questions for the speakers, just put them in the chat. We will collect them all and maybe afterwards contact them with all the questions you still have and keep you updated about it. But it's time to switch to the youngsters of PeaceCraft. We listened enough to experts and to people with more experience. But now it's up to them because they did a great job in this Corona times, in this lonely times sometimes online. So we have 3 groups for you tonight. The first one is about institutional racism. The second one is about communication without language. And the third one is about a positive image. So I will give the word to the first group. That's voilà, okay, they are appearing here. We are going to do the same here. So first we have the 3 presentations of the 3 groups, and afterwards we'll make some time for questions. So if you have questions, put them in the Q&A box below. Up to you, Dide and Co.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Dide Hendricks. I'm 21 years old and I'm a student, and I participate on this project because I love to work around this topic.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I'm 21
that's nothing.
old. I study social studies, and I joined because I want to do more about the subject than just write papers for school. I wanted to do something real.
Hi everyone, my name is Abdurrahman, but my nickname is Aboud. I'm 26 years old. I'm from Palestine, and I would like to share my experience about immigration to this project. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kato. I'm 20 years old and I study social work at Ghent. And thanks to school, I got in touch with this project. It's the first time I do something about the topic migration and racism, and I'm very glad I can do this.
Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Ali Reza. I study Dutch at several SNT schools. I'm 22 years old and I'm one of the immigrants of Belgium. Yeah, I would like to give you about my experience or what kind of problem we have been issued in Belgium as an immigrant person.
Okay. Within our project, we focused on how we can tackle institutional racism that is still present in our society. Institutional racism is racism which is omnipresent in our society, but not always obvious. Think, for example, when renting a house or trying to find a job, but also in everyday situations, such as going to the shop, market, store, where a colored person has more chance to be asked to show what is in his, her, them backpack to prove that they haven't stolen anything. This is what we want to demonstrate with this project. Inequality is omnipresent, even though it might not always be visible. That is why we created a game board. The game reveals social structures of inequality. With the game, we try to dismantle polarization. It's a game which can be used in an educational context focused on school, but it can be used in any educative settings as well. Thank you.
Yeah. To create this game, we form mixed groups with and without immigration backgrounds. This allowed each other's expertises, but also to get better results to prevent stereotyping and polarization. And we have used a lot of, in the start of the process, we have faced a lot of issues because of the Corona pandemic. And then we have made a lot of characters with a lot of stories about our experiences and other people's experiences that other peoples have been issued with it and facing it. Next step, I would like to give the mic to my colleague and my friend Kato, so she can explain more about that. Thank you.
As we mentioned before, the game reveals social structures of inequality. As a participant, you play one of the characters who is in the way of a stable life, and you experience how it feels to be in a certain position. This position can be that of a native or a non-native. Depending on which character you are, you learn about the presence of inequality in a different daily events. We don't intend to show that being a white Flemish person means that your life is perfect, but that certain elements, the so-called white privileges, make your situation easier. This is integrated in the game by means of some decision moments. When you got on one of these decision moments, you have to make a choice. Soon, one will notice that this process will show that you are not as free to make the decision as you think. I will demonstrate one of the cases. So you are new in Belgium and you want to study a higher education, but your understanding of Dutch is still too limited. Because of your level of Dutch, you will have to take a specific language class to boost your chance of success. Are your chances equal to those of a Flemish-speaking student who want to start higher education without problems caused by their linguistic backgrounds? Throughout the game, we want to try to counter polarization, which allows us to pay attention to the talents of an individual. The players earn attributes or qualities, positive as well as negative, when they land on one of the related quality tiles. An example can be being discovered as a photographer and thus being able to earn money by taking pictures, but at the same time you can struggle with the loss of a beloved one. This is translated as gaining and or skipping a turn. As a little extra, we include a side note to the game that educates the participants about their potential producers. The game board includes some question tiles. Whenever you land on one of these, you will get a scientifically supported issue or topic. An example of these is the following top of 5 new immigrants correct. Is it true that Turkish women tend to end up in a TSO more easily? And then the participants should answer these issues are true or false.
So, for example, to make the game visible for you guys, here are some characters we developed. In the game there will be 8 in total, but here are some examples. We chose those characters, the images, because they don't fall in stereotypes. They're very abstract and you can make them your own. Then in the board you have live events, or like the choice moments Kato talked about. Here are also some examples. When you land on one of them, for example, the first one you land on is housing, and then here are some examples from the 8 cards you can pull from the deck. Then there are also along the way, there are small events like in life, small things can happen and they can make your way harder or easier. Here are also some examples. Then here are some examples of the stop and think tiles. And there are also, we made in the beginning some cartoons we incorporated in the game. Here are 2 examples of those cartoons, and the meaning of those is you look at them and then you discuss them with the people you play the game with. Here is an example of a talent card. You get those in the beginning of the game, and when something happens, you can use them to your advantage. And here is like a little example of how the game can look. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, super nice. Thank you, group of institutional racism. Okay, then we go to the next group. The next group is a group that focused on communicating without a language. So they have developed something else. Yeah, they are coming. Okay, the word is to you guys.
Hello, I'm Marie. I'm 17 years old, and I'm participating in this project because I want to try and let people see that everybody is the same, and it doesn't matter where you come from or so I just want to let everybody be aware that everybody is the same and everybody has the same rights.
Hello, my name is Ivo if you speak English, and if you speak Dutch, you can call me Ivo. I'm 24 years old, and normally we were supposed to go to Slovenia, I think, or Bulgaria. And I was wondering how the problem of migration is talked about in countries as Turkey, Bulgaria, and Slovenia, and to meet the people from there as well, because that was normally the input of the project, that we were going to go to this country and meet people from there, like refugees and people who were born there, and then with the input and exchange that we get from there, work on this project. So I miss that side of it, but I think, and I'm proud of what we made, even with these difficult times of COVID-19, and yeah. Elena or Stephen, you can take the word.
Yeah, I think I will go first. I'm getting messages from Stephen that he has a bit of issues with the camera and the computer. So yeah, Stephen, you can also still speak, right?
Hello.
Yeah, hello, Stephen.
Yeah.
Est-ce que tu peux te introduire?
Oui, je peux parler, mais j'arrive pas à vous voir en fait. Je vous vois pas?
Non.
Non. Non, mais c'est pas de problème.
Ok, ça va. Ça va? Ça va maintenant?
Oui.
Yeah.
Ok, super. Je m'appelle Steven Bienvenu Mendy, j'habite à Saint-Nicolas. J'ai participé pour ce projet en fait pour... J'aimerais un jour être directeur d'une école de danse pour faire mes projets, pour être indépendant. Donc, j'ai rencontré Fabio dans un centre d'asile. Donc, il m'a proposé ce projet, donc j'ai dit pourquoi pas venir participer dans le projet. Comme ça, je pourrais voir comment ça va marcher un jour si je serai indépendant pour travailler moi-même, pour avoir mon propre école de danse. Comment je pourrais vendre mes produits de danse, pour faire la publicité, pour faire tout genre. Donc, c'est comme ça que je me suis intégré dans le groupe. Oui, voilà, c'est bon. Je parle pas, en fait, je parle le français, je parle un peu le néerlandais, mais il y a des mots qui m'échappent des fois. Merci. Allô?
Oui. Donc,
okay.
Oui, ça va. So I am Helena. I am 22 years old and I'm a student, and I wanted to do this because I like to meet people from different places with different stories. I agree with Ivo, it's a pity we couldn't meet people from like Turkey and everything, but I still believe that we met a lot of interesting, I still feel that we met a lot of interesting people this past year, so that's also a bonus. maybe now I'll just share my screen and we can present our project. Wait.
Yes.
Welcome. So I will do the intro. We started with a lot of ideas. We want to do like cartoons and things to explain situations that you see every day. And then we came to the idea of communicatie zonder taal. And it means that communicating without languages, because people speak different languages. You have like kids also, and we want like everyone from like 0 to like 100 years old to see what we made and understand it. And it doesn't matter where you're from, or that we hope a lot of people can understand it. Yeah. And I don't know, Elena, can you go to the next slide? So yes, these are pictures from, you can see on the right side, the ideas, because we are writing ideas. And I think this is the day the groups were made. It was, I think, October or September. And we had a lot of ideas, and from that day we didn't see each other anymore in real life. So the rest of it happened like online, and some of people had like exams and things for school. But and you can see like the group of our name is like Mish, and you see from left to right like Marie, Ivo, Elena, and Steven. That's how we called our group. Yes. So after this, I starting, because we had a lot of different situations and ideas. We wanted to make a cartoon, and we had to find someone who can draw, because we didn't know how to draw, to make like, we had a lot of ideas, but we wanted someone who could put our ideas into existence. And that's why I was a student in a film school. So I have this group of filmmakers and people who do animation. So I posted that I'm looking for people who can draw, who can make animation. And then I talked to like a couple of them. And then we saw like the different styles that they use to make their drawings, and we're like looking and choosing one that we think it fitted our project, our ideas, and what we had in mind. And here you can see the before of one of the first drawings. This is like a sketch that the people, you know, the girl who made the drawings, she made this first because we had an idea of, imagine if like people in this station, like a metro or train situation, and then they just look at each other and they think, okay, I can help you, without even speaking. And this is how it turned after like the colors and the drawings. You can see the drawing next to after. That's the first drawing, like where you can see the station and the kid, and then you see it when the train comes. The guy helps the mother and the baby, and they didn't even need to talk. They just look at each other, and it's like simple things like that that happen daily. Those are situations that we wanted to share with you guys. Yeah.
So this is the second situation we thought was nice to present to you. Also made this. It is about a boy who is looking at the map, but he doesn't know where he is or where the zoo is, because he's looking for the zoo. But he can't speak to people, and he's like pointing like, help me, help me. But people don't understand him, so they walk by him. But then at a certain point, he's like portraying the animals. And then when a little boy walks by with his mother, he's like, oh, I know what he means. So he's helping the older boy, and he says, there is the zoo, and he points at the map. So the last image on the left side below, that is the end.
Yes, and then we have this last scene to give our message some meaning, that you actually don't need language to be there for each other. This one is also the sketch, and then the after, we have this beautiful drawing from Juno, who really made a good effort. It really succeeded in giving the message of you don't need a lot of language to understand and be there for each other. Like here you see, like a lot of people are talking, but they're talking so much that it gets too much for the guy. And in the end, the woman just sits next to him. And that's enough. Just being present for each other can mean so much. Especially, I think, in Corona times, this is relatable for a lot of people. So this is our last scene. And then we have a couple of ideas what to do with these cartoons. The first one we have is to create a puzzle. So mostly directed for children, but maybe older people who like to puzzle as well can try a puzzle. There are different ways to do this puzzle. You could either, for like really little children, just have all of the images mixed to each other and they have to put in like the right order. That's why in the previous one, you see like a start and the end. So you know, like at which times, like where to start and where to end. And for the rest, the children can just make up their own story. Like, I think this is then and that's then. And we hope that by doing that and by creating the story, they will be able to discuss it and like talk about it as if they're really in that scene at the moment. You could also make like little pieces, so puzzles for everyone. And I think Marie will present our other idea.
So the other idea we have is posters. So we want to hang posters at places that are related and where you can see them. So for example, the last situation, we want to hang this in a park where people can read, can see the thing, and then think maybe if I see at a moment someone alone and is crying, or I think he needs someone to be there, then you think, another time I can go to that person and just sit next to him. And so we want to put these posters of places where it's related. So at the train station, or just in the city where you want to know the road, you don't know the road to somewhere. So just in the city center, and the last one in a park, for example. So that were our two main ideas. Thank you for listening.
Maybe Ivo can still explain a bit about the hashtag idea and the online, because now we explained the offline way of spreading this out, but we also want to do it online. Maybe you can tell us some more about that.
So because there's different stories, we can't like cover every story. So if you guys have stories that you guys think there will be a beautiful drawing of it, you can share the stories with us using the hashtag I understand with 3 and share it with hashtag share it with us on Facebook, Twitter, I don't know, TikTok, Instagram. Like if you share the situations or if you want to get the pictures, we can send it to you guys and then you can share it. And we hope that by sharing it on social media, that people can talk about it and share more stories, and you can really see that you don't need language to understand each other, and for the beautiful, simple feelings of life, like happiness and etc.
Okay, nice job, guys. Okay, and from communicating without language, we are now going to the last group, communicating with language, communicating with music, with a song. But first, before they are going to present their song, I want to say we are going over time. I think we will end in 10 minutes, so 9:15 we will end this webinar, so you know you can make your schedule. Okay, the last group, the group of Maisa Ala Adis Kave. Yeah. Can you introduce yourself first, and then Thomas can play the song.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hello.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Maisa. First of all, I'm so happy to see you all today. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to work with such creative people like you guys. And special thanks to Fabio, Nathan, Thomas, and everyone who participated with this project. I participate because I like to make connections with people from different countries. And now I'm going to introduce my group members, Kavi, Ala, and Adis. Maybe they can tell short about themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ala Kubula. I'm from Palestine. I'm a musician and a songwriter. Actually, I usually write my songs about real stories that happened with me or like with other people. So tonight we are going to present a song which is called Al-Haya and Peace. So Kavi.
Hello to everyone. My name is Sadis. I'm 25 years old and I'm so happy and proud to be part of this project.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah. My name is Khalifeh, and I'm 25 years old. I'm from Iran, and I produce the music for our project.
Sure, we will not forget about Ehon. Ehon was also a good member of the team, but unfortunately, because of some reasons, he had to stop and couldn't make it to the end with us. So now I'm going to tell more about our project. I will make the introduction. Our project, our subject is about positive image. We wanted from start to make something that would really give a good positive image. So our idea was to create our first idea was to create a conversation table and let two random people discuss about certain subject about migration. And then at the end of the conversation, there will be a fact checker that will make more explanation about the subject. But because of some reasons, like the idea didn't work out, first because one of our team member had to stop, and second because now of Corona situation, it's difficult like to whistle. So we had to change the plan. We have chosen to make a song. A song helps to spread like positive image, and by song can you tell like what you are feeling and what you really have been through. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to create a song that is not just telling about us, but is telling about everyone who has experienced the same thing. And our goal was like to connect people together. And like I will tell, I'm not professional at singing. Maybe my voice is horrible, but that was not wasn't that matter. What mattered was just like the message of the song, and I hope that you will like it.
So right now, I think there is a moment for Thomas to play the song, right?
All right. Let's bring it on.
ik hier beland. Veel commentaar gekregen, mensen dachten zo verkeerd. Maar ik als buitenlander heb ik het tegendeel laten zien. En kan met trots zeggen dat ik hier heb geïntegreerd. Dood, misdaden, armoede in mijn land. Verdriet en veel tranen, maar niemand zag deze kant. Familie die ik moest verlaten, hier het verhaal begint. Als een minderjarige die niemand in dit land kent, heb ik me kunnen bewijzen, gelijk wat u dan ook zegt. Nu schrijf ik woorden die rechtstreeks komen vanuit het hart. En wil ik graag alle mensen die mij hebben geholpen met een glimlach zeggen shukran.
Just keep on dreaming of what you wanna hold in your arms. Don't not lose faith even if all the doors you knocked are locked down. شو صار مش قادر أفهم ليش إيديهم كلها دم شو صار العالم بتغير ليش بالدنيا زاد الهم الزمن ماشي ولا واقف مش قادر افهم وين الدنيا رايحة خايف نفسي احكي حلمي للعالم نفسي اشوف الحق انا بدون الام العدالة صارت هي مطلب الوحيد العمر بعده ماشي مش حيرجع من جديد بدور بالشوارع وين اختفى السلام حتى الحيطان بتردش مش لاقي مكان حتى الحيطان بتردش مش لاقي مكان حتى الحيطان بتردش مش لاقي مكان Just keep on dreaming of what you wanna hold in your arms. Do not lose faith even if all the doors you knocked are locked down.
Natре od sebe, no sam može lijeko trat. Ja sam priroden, ja možem da zavzemam mesto u sebe za moj život koji drug odlučuva. Dajte mi sloboda, dajte mi da žive. Koliko možeš da go podržiš zakonot i lugeto koji se vo zakonot da odlučuva za odluke za tvoj život. Sudbina, ja sam svega doma. Go osjećam vetrotna moja ta koža, ja osjećam istinska te ljubav.
Just keep on dreaming of what you wanna hold in your arms. Do not lose faith even if all the doors you knocked are locked down.
Just keep on dreaming of what you wanna hold in your arms. Do not lose faith even if all the doors you knocked are locked down.
Okay, thank you, last group.
Thank you.
Okay, is there something else, Maisa, to share?
Maybe Ala just wanted to explain that the title of the song, why we have chosen this title.
Actually, the name of the song it's called Al-Haya and Peace. Al-Haya in our language, in Arabic, it's mean the life. So it's mean Al-Haya. Why we choose this name, which is mean Al-Haya and Peace? For me, because also I'm a refugee. I'm from Palestine, so I came here to Belgium as a refugee. So for me, as one come from Palestine, I was searching for some peace and for a new life here to start my career. So every refugee in this world is looking for the peace in his life. That's why we chose this name.
Okay, thank you. Nice job too. Okay, now we are 9:15. So right now we have some time for questions for the groups. But I think the big message we want to say in this project, but also with the little groups, the speakers, it's talk to each other, talk about polarization, talk about migration, go in dialogue. Doesn't matter what your opinion is, because otherwise we only hear the extreme voices, the extreme opinions, And yeah, and the majority is just silent, and that's what we wanted to make like a point in this project. Like the majority doesn't have to be silent; it has to speak up and keep talking about it. For the people who are leaving us now, thank you, and see you soon in another online event, hopefully offline also. For the questions, there is the Q&A box below.
We will stay here, and thank you, like Fabio said, for everything and for joining us. And if you have a question, indeed, we will stay here for like more than 5 minutes. And but if you want,
I guess we have one more song now in the meantime.
Yeah.
Since everyone was thank you everyone as well from my side.
Sung by Allah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Looks like any other city, only when I see you from the rooftop. Wish to be an angel, there is always someone forcing me to stop. She said that it's dark and cold tonight. She jumped on the bed, holding their hands. Don't be afraid, I whisper in her ears, 'cause Papa is here, as he always been. Tell me the reason, Pa, I wish to know, Papa. Tell me the reason, Pa, I wish to know, Papa. Tell me the reason, Pa, I wish to know, Papa. Tell me the reason, Pa, I wish to know, Papa. She's only a kid living there. No colors in her life, only grey. What is it with this world? What happened? It feels like they turned their back on her. Don't be afraid, your daddy's girl, I said. I can't sleep alone, I'm scared, she said. Ask mommy, these are only fireworks, I said. I read her a story, then she slept in my bed. In each house there's a story of struggle. We are prevented to breathe, so we smuggle smiles and hopes under mountains of rubble. And then you blaming me for digging a tunnel? I have no idea how normal life could be. Only sounds of shelling, bombs, drones around me. Forgive my ignorance, what does it mean to have a life or to be free? She said, Daddy, it's dark and cold tonight. She jumped on the bed, holding their hands. Don't be afraid, I whisper in her ears, 'cause Papa is here, as he always been. Tell me the reason, Pa, I wish to know, Papa. Tell me the reason, Pa, I wish to know, Papa. Tell me the reason, Pa, I wish to know, Papa. Tell me the reason, Pa, I wish to know, Papa.
Ik zie dat we vragen hebben.
Yes, we have. There are two questions for an anonymous attendee. One is asking, how can we reach people that don't get automatically in touch with people with a migration background, for example, but still have a strong opinion Is there someone of you who
I think I
tell
can
some-
answer that because I believe it has to spread a bit. Like I recognize having a strong opinion, but don't getting in contact, as my grandmother is that kind of person. So these are conversations we should be having at Christmas times, at gatherings where, and I think that's the part that I can do as a native Belgian who has family here and everything. That's the part that I should be doing. And I think a lot of people should be doing that and having those conversations at dinner tables and open the debate, because it's difficult to reach those people because they don't look for people who have other mindsets or come from another tradition or history. But that's my opinion. Curious if someone else has something to say.
Yes, I would like to say that integration, that is very large, meaning that there is a different way to integration. What kind of topic would you like to share it? What is the topic in Belgium that most people speak about it? So there's a difference between what kind of thema or topic you would like to share. That is very important. This is different integration. There's a really big meaning of integration. Thank you.
Somebody else of the group?
For the first question or the second one?
The first one, Ivo. If not,
maybe
we
the
also...
second one. Maybe
Yeah.
the second one.
The second one, I don't think this project has changed a lot of viewpoints or opinions for me, because I was already someone who has an open mind, and I was just open to learn, and I think that's important when you talk about subjects like these. And like, I don't know, I think Helena said it. So sometimes it's difficult to bring this kind of conversations in family times and when it's like Christmas and just party. But I think if you normalize it and talk it as if it's like drinking water or something, that it will help the generations of the future. And I believe that the social media and the generation that's growing up now, and they see a lot of diversity in the media, or not in the television media, but in the social media, they learn about the different people that exist. And I think that helps for the better future.
Yeah, I think it's really right what you said about drinking like water, because it needs to be like normal and a good thing to do. To just talk about it. I noticed it a lot with the people around me, that they're like too afraid to mention something. And that's stupid. We should be able to have an open discussion about it. It's more about the way, your intentions behind what you say, than the exact words that you mean. And I think a lot of people are getting stressed to say something because they think, oh, I can't talk about it, which it's not true. I mean, we should all talk about it. And I loved about talking so much about it with you guys last year. So yeah.
Someone else who wants to say a word?
Also, I think there is maybe in your culture a meaning of something that is different in another culture. So this is that mean different. So how you can understand the person and what is his culture and how to make it more integrated. This is what I want to share it actually.
maybe for me personally, I had also a very strong opinion about migration and refugee, a very positive one. And it was, now I can, after this project, I did already some research, but doing this project together with the youngsters, I get more deeper in the things in the media, but also in some papers. And for me, it changed my polarized, it weakened my polarized view a little bit, or weakened is maybe a bad word, but I think the intention is right that I want to say.
Do you mean like it filled it up? Because that's what I feel after this project. Like my image of the migration and refugees, it was filled up by meeting all of you guys. And that's something you can't read from an article. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about this project. I think that's a bit what you mean, because that's what I feel.
Yeah, indeed. The experiencing and hearing it in the media is very different. Reality. Yeah. Okay, I'm a bit tired right now, so I would call it a night, but I look to the rest here.
Yeah. I wanted to say something very small because the last months we focused a lot on this small project, but I remember in the beginning with Thomas and the expressions with the group, I really like that in the beginning in Antwerp, I almost forget about it, but it was very good. It was very I loved it, and thank you so much.
Me too. Yes, sure.
Yeah, we should have been able to share it with everyone, but yeah, we will be at one point. So thank you everyone as well from my side. I think this shows that, bringing all this energy together, even in Corona times, it shows that once Corona is over, we can do even more. We have a video clip planning. We have a lot of things in store. So thank you also from my side.
Yes.
But maybe because I saw somebody who proposed to dance, maybe I will put the video in one more time and everyone can do whatever they want from their side.
Yes.
I see we're still live on Facebook.
The journey is not over till it's over. So
yes, we cannot see you because we only have the shared screen from the video, but I suggest everyone can let all the positive energy out.
Okay.
Then we can go to sleep very good.
Yes.
I even want to thank everyone here and who has because everyone has worked so hard. So thanks everyone. It was really good experience and so happy to meet you all. And
very good, I think.
Let's just say this won't be the end of it, okay? It's just the end. I just won't accept it. I will see you guys later.
Because we from iDrops, we're also trying to get a reunion in the summer. Maybe not in Belgium, but maybe abroad. So we will see. Let's hope. Ibiza, why not?
No, we will see each other in real life, of course.
All right. So everyone who's still following our panel conversation sees how strong this group is and how inspired we still are. So on that note, I propose we replay the song again and have a good night, everyone.
Okay.
Good night.
Only when I see you from the rooftop, I wish to be an angel. There is always someone forcing me to stop. She said, Daddy, it's dark and cold tonight. She jumped on the bed, holding their hands. Don't be afraid, I whisper in her ears, 'cause Papa is here, as he always been. Tell me the reason, Papa, I wish to know, Papa. Tell me the reason, Papa, I wish to know, Papa. Tell me the reason, Papa, I wish to know, Papa. Tell me the reason, Papa, I wish to know, Papa. a kid living there. No colors in her life, only grey. What is it with this world? What happened? It feels like they turned their back on her. Don't be afraid, your daddy's girl, I said. I can't sleep alone, I'm scared, she said. Ask mommy, these are only fireworks, I said. I read her a story, then she slept in my bed. In each house there's a story of struggle. We are prevented to breathe, so we smuggle smiles and hopes under mountains of rubble. And then you blaming me for digging a tunnel? I have no idea how normal life could be. Only sounds of shelling, bombs, drones around me. Forgive my ignorance, what does it mean to have a life or to be free? She said, Daddy, it's dark and cold tonight. She jumped on the bed, holding